Hey guys, it's David Clayton again from GuitarBreakdown.com, and today we're going to break down a Josh Smith solo. This is off of his Inception CD. The song is called Hairflip, and actually recently I just did a video lesson on the rhythm section to this song. Really cool, funky rhythm. I'll put the link below in the description to that video, and I'll also put a video response to this video so you could just click on it and get to it. But it's a really cool, funky rhythm, and this solo is a really cool, bluesy in C-sharp minor pentatonic thing. Pretty straightforward, really. And it's just a really great lesson on phrasing and not worrying about like crazy notes or anything. It's just using strict pentatonic. Goes outside just a little bit with like the ninth and a flat 5 or whatever, but it's more his tone and his phrasing that make this solo so cool. And we'll talk about a little of that, but we're really just going to rip through this because there's not a lot of theory to talk about, but I will talk about how he gets those phrases to feel like they're a little ahead of the beat, a little behind the beat kind of thing. And if you're not familiar with Josh Smith, check out another video I'll put a link to below. It was the first lesson I did on him a while ago, which was off of a YouTube video where he just did this really cool little jazzy lick. But I talk about who he is and all that kind of stuff in that, so I won't bore you with that here, but the video will, I'll put a video response to this for that video also, and you could just click on that and hear all about Josh Smith. But he's an amazing player. Check out, just do a search for him. His playing and timing and feel and tone is just awesome. So anyway, so I hope you guys really enjoy this video. This lesson is going to be, like I said, very straightforward, but I think a lot of times people get into the whole jazz fusion thing and they're thinking chromatics and melodic minor and all this kind of stuff, and they kind of get so far away from thinking about the basics, which is just phrasing within a few notes. So I hope this lesson helps you with that, and I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so the first thing we'll talk about is the chord that he's playing this over. Make this really quick because if you just click the link below and watch the video of the rhythm, you'll know exactly what he's playing over. So it's the part of the song where he goes, and what that is, it's basically comes down to, it's a C-sharp minor 7 chord, and or that's the feel that he's playing over. So if you just play C-sharp minor 7, you can play this whole solo. Now, the solo begins with, again, C-sharp minor pentatonic or E major pentatonic. So it's your A minor pentatonic or whatever you know, starting at the 9th fret. And I think he throws a flat 5 in there, the blues note, and also a 9th. But he throws it in here. So that's note-wise everything that he's using in this solo. And the beginning of the solo starts out on the 11th fret of the A string, and it just goes 9, 11 on the D string, and stops on the minor 3rd, which is the 9th fret of the G string. And it's... and there's a pause between these two notes, so it's... there's a slight pause in there, and again, there's, as far as rest, and that's what I'm saying is really cool about this solo. He offsets notes slightly. Instead of doing... he goes... and he does, then he goes from that note to the 11th fret on the G string to the 9th fret on the B string, so it's... and then there's a pause between that note and the next note, which is, again, that 9th fret, minor 3rd, and he adds vibrato, and he even bends it up slightly, so it's... then Then he just walks down from the 11 to the 9 on the D string. Then he slides from the 11 to the 9 on the A string. And it's pretty quick slide. So and then when he slides down to that 7th fret, or I'm sorry, to the 9th fret, he plays the 7th fret on the A string, then the 9th fret on the E string, and then slides up from the 9th fret of the A string to the 11th fret of the A string. Then he goes back down to the 7 and 9 of the A string. So that whole thing slowly is. And then he adds some vibrato and slides off. So then the next section he goes from this. So that's what I kind of considered section 1, or idea phrase 1. And that's phrase 2, which is very similar. It's kind of like a call and response thing. So he slides from the 7th fret, oh, I'm sorry, I keep saying that, the 9th fret to the 11th fret of the A string. Then he goes from the 9 to the 11 on the D string. Then he slides up from the 8th fret to the 9th fret on the G string. So it's... And he plays the 11th fret on the G string. So... Then he hammers on and off from the 9th fret, 11th fret, back to the 9th fret on the G string, and slides back down to the 8th fret of the G string. So that whole thing is... Then he goes back down the 11th fret to the 9th fret on the D string. Then he slides down from the 11 to the 9, pulls off to the 7th fret on the A string. Then he goes from the 9th fret on the A string to the 9th fret on the E string. Then he hammers on twice and he really plucks that. Whether I'm using my finger for this whole first section, I just like the tone of it. He may be using the pick, but he's really getting a plucky sound out of that. So it's from 7 to 9, 7 to 9. So that whole thing is... Then he just walks down the scale to the 7th fret on the A string, to the 9, 7 on the E string. Holds it, and he slides off. So that whole thing is... Now, one thing you want to think about too is the dynamics that he's playing this with. He slides into this. He really picks that note. The first few notes are a little light. He starts building up, so... And then he lightens up until he hits that note again, so... And that last note he hits is really light before he slides it off. Then he slightly goes into this. And he builds it up. And he kind of dies down here until he plucks this really hard. And then he does that kind of lightly and slides it off. And those dynamics are really important because things begin sounding really stale if everything is at the same dynamic level. So, that was a little side note. And also, what I want to discuss real quick, we'll go into this now instead of coming back to it, is everything was minor pentatonic so far. All minor pentatonic. Except here, he throws in that 9th. But the rest of that is minor pentatonic. So we've talked about this in a bunch of other lessons, especially like the melodic minor lesson and stuff, where it's great to throw in one note, like one Dorian note. Instead of playing minor pentatonic, and then playing your Dorian licks, then going back, to think of it as just throwing in one note that's outside the pentatonic scale. It just really adds a cool flavor to it.